Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the dedication of the Michael Feige Career Development Chair in Israeli Society. My name is Professor Ofer Schiff, and I will chair today's event. Dear friends, this is not a typical chair dedication. It was just a short year ago, during the previous Board of Governors meeting, that many of us gathered for the dedication of the Woodman-Scheller Israeli Studies International Program. It was the end of that very day, a year ago, that Michael's life was taken violently at a terror attack in Tel Aviv. A day which began with much excitement and joy, ended in unimaginable grief and loss. Let me share with you a few words about Michael. Michael was the most important member of the academic staff of the Ben-Gurion Research Institute for the Study of Israel and Zionism. He played an incredibly central role in this tight-knit research community. For us, his colleague at the Institute, Michael was not only a brilliant scholar, one of the leading sociologists in the fields of Israel studies and collective memory. For us, he was first of all a colleague, a close friend with an acute sense of humor. For us and for everyone that knew Michael, he represented a rare combination of the most authentic sense of modesty and uncompromising integrity. My personal friendship with Michael spanned across 20 years when we both joined the academic staff of the Institute. Back then, in the very competitive environment of young scholars struggling to make a place for themselves in academia, Michael stood out as someone who was always first a friend, someone you can count on. His ability to observe situations in new and surprising ways was as impressive. For 20 years, his voice carried an authentic, original perspective which allowed all of us at the Institute to find new angles and most fruitful insights. The void Michael has left at our academic roundtable is painfully obvious. The sadness and longing we feel for Michael's unique voice is only increasing. In this tragic and most painful situation, it was incredibly encouraging to see how the university came together so quickly to create this chair in Michael's name. Guys, this is not a given by any means. None of this would have been possible if not for the substantial support given by Professor Rivka Carmi. When news broke of this tragedy, it became a priority for Rivka to find the most meaningful and appropriate way to commemorate Michael and to continue his legacy. In the name of the many friends that knew and loved Michael, I can say that we all feel that the chair and the granting of the annual prize to one doctorate student is the most meaningful way to commemorate Michael's legacy. We are all so very grateful. Rivka, please, if you will.
Members of the board, faculty, students, friends, dear Nurit, Dana, Yael, Uri, and the Feige family. A year has passed since we lost Michael. a wonderful member of the Ben-Gurion Research Institute of Israel and Zionism, killed in the appalling terrorist attack in the Sarona market of Tel Aviv. A few weeks afterwards, I visited the actual spot where his terrible event took place, and I couldn't help but thinking about the fragility of life and the banality of evil. I did not know Michael personally, but all that I have heard and read of him have led me to reflect on a number of aspects of human behavior. Michael's research focused on the socio-cultural issues unique to Israeli reality, showing great respect for people on both sides of the political spectrum. Apparently, you can examine topics with quite conflicting narratives, yet respect all and not allow one's personal view to delegitimize the others or color the whole picture. A special aspect of Michael's personality was his Renaissance character. The search for knowledge and desire to study for its own sake. This is not something we can take for granted in academia today. The desire to move up the academic ladder as quickly as possible sometimes comes at the expense of true intellectual depth, but never with Michael. He was an optimist who always saw the half-full glass and never the half-empty. Finally, he was a loyal and true friend, that kind that you can always rely on being there for you. I want to end with a few words translated for a well-known Hebrew song, Rikma Enoshit Achat. For all of us, yes, all of us, constitute a vital human fabric. And if one of us departs from us, something in us dies, something remains with him. Will his memory be blessed.
Thank you, Rivka. When news broke of this terrorist attack and Michael's subsequent death, the shock, sadness, and desire to memorialize him spread globally. Our partners at the American Associate, AABGU, gave voice and took action to ensure that Michael's work and legacy continues. I would like to take this opportunity to express our sincere gratitude to the AABGU for being so proactive partners, and especially to Doron Krakow, who until 2 months ago added the AABGU and in record time accomplished this amazing task here today. Representing AABGU is Art Essel, who is a long-time supporter of BGU and a leader in the Washington-Baltimore region. Art is a member of the AABGU National Board of Directors, where he served for many years as treasurer and now serves as the chair of the audit committee. He also recently completed a long and distinguished tenure as chair of the AABGU Washington-Baltimore region. I call upon Art to speak on behalf of all those who supported this important initiative.
Thank you, Ofer, very much. Your introduction was longer than I get to speak, so that's a... I'm proud to be the representative of American Associates, Ben-Gurion University of the Negev, in the case of this important dedication. The first thing I wanted to do was to see what the relationship of Michael was to AABGU, and in fact, I couldn't really find a relationship. And that leads me to something that both Rivka and Ofer suggested, which is that one of the things you learn if you get active with AABGU is that the people who are involved in AABGU are an extraordinary group of people. who are willing to do all sorts of things to support this institution. It takes about $500,000 to endow a chair. You may know that. Often when gifts are given, you find a family or an individual very wealthy. They give money for a building or a chair or whatever, and that's extraordinary. But that was not the case here. In the instance of the Michael Feige chair, there were 329 separate gifts that made up that $500,000. This was an effort, not really an effort, this was an exercise that was responded to by people all over the United States who are active in AABGU. The gift was officially announced in February at the winter meeting of AABGU, which is held in Houston. And we were honored there to have as our guest somebody that you're going to hear from a little later, and that is Nurit Feige, who is sitting down there, who very quickly became a close friend of everybody she talked to. And I'm sure those of you who know her all call her a close friend. Nurit not only came in order to be honored on behalf of her husband, but she gave a lecture. She gave us a talk. As you know, Nurit is a historian at Yad Vashem. She gave us a talk on young women who were couriers from ghetto to ghetto to ghetto in Poland during World War II, and it was a fascinating talk. And then to top that off, she came with a group of us to the Houston Holocaust Museum, where she saw that many of their photographs were taken from the archives of Yad Vashem. And she was able to add to a very capable docent's explanation of what we were seeing. So she was an extraordinary addition to the AABGU family for that weekend. Lastly, I do want to recognize there are at least 3 others in this room who were part of who contributed, and I wanted to mention their names. Jan Liff, who is here, Alana Subar, who is there, and Wayne Woodman, who is sitting next to Paula Kabalo. And with that, I just want to congratulate Dr. Ben Herzog and know for Nurit that this chair is going to be a lasting memory to Michael. Thank you.
We wish to share with you, if only briefly, a visual glimpse of who Michael was.
איפה ישנם עוד אנשים כמו האיש ההוא אשר היה קרבו הבוכיות איפה ישנם עוד אנשים כמו האיש ההוא אשר היה קרבו הבוכיות למרגלות הנולד ליד הנחל בחורף שם בין ערבות בוכיות על מי הנחל תחנה הקים זרע שדו שלח עונו על פני הים באוניות סוחר איפה ישנם עוד אנשים כמו האיש ההוא אשר היה כערבות הבוכיות איפה ישנם עוד אנשים כמו האיש ההוא אשר היה כערבות הבוכיות
Well, I want to thank Nurit for honoring me with the opportunity to talk to all of you today. But I have to admit that I've neither the wit nor the profundity of mind to say what deserves to be said about Michael Feige. And at first I didn't even know where to begin to express my feelings about him. Yet his first book, which bears a dedication to me, quote, to my very dear friend Barry, became my precious touchstone. And it remains so, standing as I do in the institution he enriched and graced. Most of you know about his analysis of Gush Emunim and so forth. Their inhabitants had hoped to transform the spirit of modern Israel, but in Michael's words, the settlers failed to settle in the people's heart. They embodied a vision that challenged prevailing trends in the very society on whose support they depended. Specifically, they offered collectivism in an age of individualism, selfless commitment in times of personal self-fulfillment, sanctification of place in a time of easy travel, and memory in an era of forgetting. Their habits of the heart seem strange indeed to their fellow countrymen. True, Michael felt little sympathy for their failed movement, failure in the cultural sense. But he found something in it worth preserving: community, commitment, toil, home, remembrance. These things are to be taken seriously. No one has ever accused Michael Feige of being a reactionary. Yet he knew that a fulfilled life, even among those for whom science is a vocation, must be rooted in a certain native place or in certain native places. In his life, places where he received the affection of students, the respect of colleagues, the love of family and friends, places where he toiled amid familiar sounds and accents. But in these sites of Michael's life, the intellectual world merged without losing itself into a world even more fundamental. After all, his intellect did not speak to itself or of itself. It was inwrought with affection for family, friends, students, and colleagues. And it was spread not with intentional effort, but as a sweet habit of his own being. Such are the ways of intellect and heart that distinguishes the chair. Thank you. Such are the ways of intellect and heart that distinguishes the chair we dedicate today.
Thank you so much, Barry. I would like to call Dr. Kabalo, Dr. Paula Kabalo, Director of the Ben-Gurion Research Institute for the Study of Israel and Zionism. Paula's leadership was extremely important throughout the painful and emotional time after Michael's death. Her voice represented and still represents the longing and sadness that has accompanied all of us within the community of the Ben-Gurion Research Institute throughout the last year. Paula.
Thank you, Ofer. Nuri, Dana, Yael, Uri, Galit, Noga, and friends and students from Israel, from all over the world. As mentioned here also already before, yes, Michael studied commemoration. And in fact, Oren wrote a beautiful poem when we had the ceremony, the memorial ceremony 11 months ago. And he said, how do we commemorate the commemoration expert? That's a challenge. So I went back to his writings on commemoration. And I was And I was looking at what he wrote about how we should understand commemoration. He published a variety of articles on the topic, and when reading them, I was struck to see that he was curious about the patterns of commemoration for victims of terror attacks. Here's a quote: "Commemoration following terror attacks sprouts from below," he pointed out. When seeking to explain the personal meaning of commemoration, he quoted a bereaved father saying, "This isn't a battle legacy, this is a life legacy." And while observing commemoration projects on the Israel Trail, he commented, "It created a community that deliberates on the meaning of Israeliness." Elsewhere, he cited from a poem written by a soldier later killed in the helicopter disaster. Here's the quote: "Nothing will harm me, nothing. Not a woman, not a terrorist bullet." And Michael interprets that. The author expresses existential fear, he writes, not for his own loss, but for the meaning of loss to his family. This loss, tells us Michael, isn't necessarily the result of a war. The soldier could be hit by a terrorist bullet that also kills civilians. His own words. And so, Michael concludes, the unifying culture of bereavement is as essential to the families as it is to the state. But the question, he continues, that we have to posit for the future is whether other segments in Israeli society will join this coalition of bereavement, as Michael calls it, or will society just move on and leave behind the bereaved parents alone in the private mourning? Michael's words. Today, we're responding. We're responding to Michael's question. We have not moved on. Your loss, Michael, has brought together the whole BGU community. People came together from all over the world in order to ensure the continuation of your life legacy, to echo your own words. In an act of sisterhood and brotherhood, I can't think of any other term, in an act of family commitment, sisterhood and brotherhood, Doron Krakow and our dear, dear friends at AABGU picked up the gauntlet in no time, accumulated the means necessary for this chair, and what can we say? We have to, there's only one word to say, thank you, toda, and it means the deepest thing this can mean. We're really, really grateful. So let me turn now to the Michael Feige chair, incumbent, to Ben. We're here for him as well today. Let me introduce you, Ben. So in a way, I feel like I'm in a junction, right? So now we're moving towards the future. We're moving towards the life legacy. Ben joined, a few words about Ben. So Ben joined the Ben-Gurion University's faculty 3 years ago. His PhD from Yale dealt with the changing perceptions of civil rights in the modern world. He subsequently served as a visiting scholar at leading institutions such as Yale and Harvard. His academic work weaves together sociology, political science, area studies, and legal studies. His publications discuss immigration, citizenship, and national identity in Israel and in comparative perspectives. They all intertwine present-day observations with historical perspectives. In this respect, there's a clear link between Ben and Michael. Both aim to decode the historical roots of current sociological phenomena in Israeli society. Following Michael's death, Ben took upon himself to fill in for his absence in the classroom. He is now teaching Michael's introductory course on Israeli society. The Michael Feige Career Development Chair in Israeli Society will reflect Michael's legacy not only through its research contents, it will continue his teaching and educational legacy by awarding an annual prize to an excellent BGU PhD student who is seeking a better understanding of Israeli society. And so, it is our hope that the annual lecture and prize ceremony led by the Michael Feige Chair will commemorate him in a way he would, I think, I will dare to say, he will appreciate as a platform to ensure ongoing deliberation into the meaning of Israeliness. And that's just another quote of Michael himself, from Michael himself. Thank you.
Professor Cohen and Ben, Dr. Herzog, please join me at the podium for the presentation of the Incumbent scroll.
Thank you for the kind words. It is a great honor to be standing here today, not only because of the trust placed in me in conferring on me Michael Feige Career Development Chair in Israeli society, but also because it is an opportunity to commemorate a colleague and a friend. My hopes are that in my own research, I will be able to follow Michael's academic footsteps. Okay, can you hear? Okay. Among the many insights and perspectives Michael developed in his work, I would like to connect my own research to three of them. His emphasis on studying some of the most controversial events in Israel society, his ability to listen empathetically, but nonetheless critically, to opposing voices in the field, and his talent for distilling the most acute observation out of any social situation. The focus of my own work is to analyze the changing perception of Israeli identity. Specifically, I assess Israeli national identity by looking at citizenship policy and practices which are the legal and formal manifestations of Israeliness. My study of the evolution of the Israeli citizenship laws illustrates many of the dilemmas and controversies that Israel has faced since its independence. Politicians were and still are concerned about issues such as maintaining the Jewish majority, dual citizenship, terminating Israeli citizenship, gender equality, and naturalization of non-Jews. Many of these issues lie at the heart of political and cultural disputes. However, following Michael's lead, just because they are contentious, we as scholars should not shy away from inquiring about these topics. Another project is to look at the changes in the relationship between Israel and the rest of the Jewish world. In thinking about Israeli citizenship, Israelis were not just thinking about internal considerations, but also looked outwards to the Jewish diaspora. For American Jews, the conflict between national identities might not seem surprising or new. But only now are scholars seeing that the same duality also exists within Israeli society. As I carefully listen to the subjective perceptions of identity, I will be able to throw light on this duality. A third study looks at how ordinary people, as opposed to intellectuals or leaders, understand the boundaries of their national membership. This research explores the way young adults understand acts which were traditionally associated with national citizenship, such as acquiring dual citizenship, residence abroad, voting for a parliament of another country, and military service abroad. There is a growing scholarship on the effects of globalization around the world, but it has remained to be seen how much these processes will affect Israeli society. This mixture of sorrow and gratitude, sadness and happiness, is particularly evident at this event, but it is typical in general of Israeli culture and society. The establishment of Michael Feige Career Development Chair in Israeli society is both academically and personally significant for me, and in many ways, it will enable me to continue Michael's unfinished work. Thank you.
Nurit, for all of us, is a friend. She played a very active role in all the discussions, decisions, as relating to Michael's legacy. In the most difficult and painful moments, Nurit's calm, clear, and humble approach paved the way for all of us. Nurit and their 3 daughters, Galit, Noga, Dana, represent for us the authentic Israeli values at their highest standards. Nurit, please join us at the podium for the presentation of the scroll.
I'm so excited. Forgive me, please. I'm just looking at all the friends and everybody that came in, especially for him. It's really very exciting. I met Michael at the Hebrew University. He was tall, his hair full with black curls, Afro style, wearing an old blue shirt. He wasn't into fashion and didn't have any time to waste on meager things like buying clothes or getting his hair cut. The world was waiting for him. He grew up in Rehovot with his brother Uri and his sister Yael. Both are present here today, in a family that encouraged education and knowledge. His scope of readings and thirst for knowledge made him a top student in the university, while the rest of us in class, the human, stayed much behind. On our second date, he told me how he lost his father suddenly a few years earlier while he was a soldier. This tragedy influenced him to make 2 resolutions that would shape his life. His first insight was that the most important thing in life is to be nice to your fellow men. Life is too short to waste on getting hurt or angry with other people. Once he gave a lift to a man from Yerucham, and after he left the car, Michael discovered that he stole his money. Our daughter Noga asked him, "Dad, don't you feel angry?" And he answered, "He probably needs the money more than me." His second resolution was to follow his father's footsteps and have an academic career, looking into what really influences our life here in Israel. He went to Yamit in the midst of the demonstration against the evacuation and wrote a diary which Paula and I found a few months ago. He was documenting not only the events, but also the feelings and the reactions of the people, and the people he researched trusted him. He was a great listener and fair, and when he presented the opinions, as he says in the introduction to his book, settling in his heart. I'm indebted to my interviewees, mainly religious settlers, for opening their homes and their hearts and making this research possible. They were all forthcoming, kind, and hospitable. The fact that I disagree with their worldview was known to them, yet it never interfered with their willingness to articulate their experiences, thoughts, and feelings. My modest hope, he says, is that they will find the book a fair presentation of their deeds, ideas, and passions. We moved to the Negev in 1997. We wanted to be a part of a young, vital community. In Sde Boker, we lived a life that was a unique combination of chalutziut and academia. We raised our daughters among scientists and naturalists. Michael became involved in local projects and special events. His one true drawback was his lack of ability to say no to anyone that asked him for help, whether it was his colleagues, his students, or his wife. Just a moment, guys. I have a request. Those that comes from Sde Boker, please raise your hands. Hi, please. Okay, that was my point when I said we had a special community. You see, people are still coming and thinking about him. He was a wonderful father and a family man, always making us laugh and documenting us as if he sensed that his time is short and he must take care of our memories and family history. He was wise beyond his years and a master in expressing the meaningfulness of life. So when we deliberated what to engrave on his grave, we quoted from his own book in Hebrew, One Space, Two Places. Thank you for putting a little sanity into madness and a bit of madness for sanity. Without it, he said, it is impossible to do anything in life. He was a Zionist and he was a critical sociologist, and those two, Ben, aspects of his work and personality didn't conflict with one another. He wanted to pass on to future generations this unique combination. This is his heritage that is now entrusted in Dr. Ben Herzog's hands. The Ben-Gurion University was his second home. We hope the chair will enable his friends to keep his legacy alive. In the name of the family, I would like to thank Professor Rivka Carmi for her consistent support, to Dr. Paula Kabalo, a dear friend and the only woman I agreed to share him with, for her stamina, optimism, and love for Michael that helped to make it happen. Special thanks to the American Friends of BGU for welcoming me with warm hearts at their annual meeting in Houston. Again, please raise your hands, guys. Deborah, where are you there? Also you are? What about you? Okay? Some of them are too humble, way in here, so you see them here. To Doron Krakow, who unfortunately could not come today, not only has led this campaign with deep commitment, but also took care of me like a Jewish mother, sensing how hard it was for me. Thank you to Ofer, to Nina, and the staff of Ben-Gurion Institute and Ben-Gurion University for arranging this beautiful ceremony, and to all his friends that came today to express their love. If he was here today, he would have looked at you like this with a smile and say, I'm a lucky guy. Thank you.
Thank you, Nurit, so much on behalf of all of us. It was really a moving presentation. I want to continue Nurit's optimistic way of presenting things and say something to end this event. And the thing is that although we will always grieve the loss of Michael, and the void that he has left behind. Today I feel there is a sense of accomplishment and satisfaction that we are able to find a way to commemorate Michael in this most meaningful way. So, in the name of Michael's many friends, we thank all the doers, supporters, our audience. Thank you very much. This concludes our ceremony for today. Thank you very much.